The moment you stop chasing her is the exact moment she starts chasing you. Here's the thing, nobody tells you about chasing someone. The moment you start chasing, you're broadcasting a signal, and that signal says, I need this more than you do. Attraction runs on a weird kind of math where value goes up when you're not desperate for it and crashes the second you are. When a guy takes back in 30 seconds every single time, cancels his plans to make room for her, agrees with everything she says just to keep the peace, he thinks he is being a good partner. What he's actually doing is teaching her that he has nothing else going on, that she's the center of his universe with nothing competing for that spot. Women aren't consciously scoring this. It happens under the radar in the gut, in that instinctive read-up. Does this man have a life, or does he only have me? Nice guys break this rule constantly because they were taught that effort equals love, that showing up every time proves commitment, but showing up every time proves availability, not value. And those are two completely different things in her mind. Let's talk about what actually happens in her brain when a man pulls back instead of leaning in. There's a psychological principle where humans assign more value to things that seem harder to get. It's called scarcity, and it's baked into how we're weird, not something you can argue your way around. When you're always available, always agreeable, always the one initiating and chasing and checking in, you remove the scarcity completely. And without scarcity, there's no tension, and without tension, there's no attraction. This isn't about playing games or being cold. It's about understanding that a man with his own goals, his own friendships, his own schedule that doesn't revolve around her creates a natural gap that her mind has to close. That gap is where attraction lives. Nice guys collapse the gap immediately because they're afraid of losing her, but ironically, collapsing the gap is exactly what causes her interest to evaporate in real time. If this is hitting home right now, they're up to red hearts in the comments, so I know you're actually feeling this. It helps way more than you think. Here's a pattern that plays out in relationship after relationship. The guy who's slightly harder to pin down, or who takes a bit longer to reply, who has his own plans on a Friday night, ends up being the one she can't stop thinking about. Meanwhile, the guy who drops everything, who's instantly available, who reroutes his whole week around her schedule, becomes an afterthought within weeks. This isn't fair, and it isn't about being a jerk. It's about basic human psychology that rewards perceived independence and punishes perceived dependence. When you chase, you're signaling dependence. When you live your life fully and let her fit into it rather than building your life around her. You're signaling independence, and independence is magnetic in a way that constant availability will never be, no matter how much effort you pour into it. Think about the last time you wanted something you couldn't quite have, maybe a job you didn't get, a promotion that slipped away, a person who wasn't quite interested back. Notice how your brain kept circling back to it, replaying it, wondering what you could have done differently. That's the exact mechanism at play in attraction. When a woman senses that a man is fully hers with zero effort, her brain stops running that loop because there's nothing left to chase, nothing left to wonder about. The nice guy's mistake is thinking that removing all uncertainty will make her feel safe and secure, when really it removes the exact tension that was creating her interest in the first place. Security in a relationship absolutely matters, but security built too early. Therefore, there's real emotional investment. Just reads as boring rather than stable. Which one of these 22 signs has she already shown you without you even noticing? Don't miss the previous video. It's packed with even more signs you might have missed. It's at the top of the screen right now. One of the most common things I hear from guys who feel stuck is, I did everything right. I was there for her every single day. I never left her hanging. And she still lost interest. The problem isn't the effort itself, it's the timing and the balance of that effort. Chasing means giving 100% before she is even asked for 50. It means pouring your entire emotional bank account into someone who hasn't shown you she is ready to match it. Attraction requires reciprocity, a back and forth, a give and take. And when one person is doing all the giving, the dynamic taps over into something that feels more like a service than a relationship. She stops feeling pulled toward you and starts feeling like she is being handed something she didn't have to work for. And humans, for better or worse, don't value things that they didn't have to work for. Nice guys are often confused being agreeable with being attractive, and these are not the same trick. Agreeing with everything she says, never pushing back, never having an opinion that differs from hers, might feel like the safe path to keeping the peace, but it actually erases your identity in her eyes. A woman needs to feel like she is with a person, not a mirror. When you have your own perspective, your own boundaries, your own things you won't budge on, you become someone worth engaging with, someone worth debating, someone worth getting to know deeper. When you have no opinions of your own, there's nothing left to discover, and without discovery, curiosity dies fast. This is why so many nice guys report feeling invisible in their relationships. They erase themselves trying to be liked, and in doing so, make themselves impossible to be attracted to. Why do men carry being wanted so badly? In the next video, I'm going deep into the psychology behind it. What's actually happening in a man's brain when he feels desired versus invisible, and why this hidden need drives so much of how he acts in a relationship. Turn on notifications because you don't want to miss this big one.